She called the cops and screamed, "Arrest him!" While my trees were still burning, I was standing in the middle of black smoke, holding a garden hose that had already melted at the tip. The fire was crawling through my orchard like it had a plan. 30 years of trees, gone in minutes. And Karen stood across the fence with her phone up, recording me like I was the criminal. "You violated the HOA landscaping ban," she shouted. "You were warned." Warned? There was a county-wide burn ban that week. Everyone knew it. No grills, no fire pits, no trash burning. The air was dry like paper. Even kids weren't allowed to use fireworks. And somehow, my orchard caught fire. I looked at the sheriff's car pulling up. Not fast, not urgent, just slow. Like this was already decided. Karen ran to the deputy before he even stepped out. "He started a controlled burn without approval. It spread. He's a danger to the community." "Controlled burn?" I stared at her. "I was at work." She didn't even blink. "Prove it." The deputy turned to me. "Sir, we got 3 calls. Neighbors say you were clearing land." 3 calls, all from her side of the street. I looked past them. The flames were moving strange. Not toward her house. Not toward the open dry field behind me. They were pushing in one direction. Toward the row of brand new HOA homes at the top of the hill. 5 houses, all identical. All just finished last month. Big glass windows, wooden decks, dry decorative shrubs planted too close to the walls. Worth about $5 million combined. Karen noticed it too. Her voice changed. "Why is it going uphill?" The wind wasn't strong, but it shifted, slow. Like someone turned an invisible fan. I felt heat push against my back, then suddenly pull forward. The deputy grabbed his radio. "Fire's spreading north. Call it in." North, that was the HOA side. Karen stepped back from the fence. No. It's supposed to burn out." "Supposed to?" I turned to her slowly. "What did you just say?" She froze. Sirens started screaming in the distance now. Real urgency. Smoke thickened. One ember jumped the road, then another, and then one of the HOA rooftops caught. It wasn't big at first. Just a flicker, like a warning. Then the dry cedar shingles lit up like they'd been waiting. People started running out of those homes. Someone yelled, "Call 911!" Another voice screamed a name. Karen's face went pale. "This isn't possible." I looked at my orchard again. The fire line wasn't random. It was clean, sharp, almost straight, like it started from the edge of my fence. From the HOA side, the deputy slowly looked back at her. "Ma'am, did anyone on your board approve outdoor work today?" She didn't answer, because at that exact moment, one of the firefighters shouted something that made my stomach drop. "Accelerant detected." Karen's phone slipped from her hand, and I realized something terrifying. This fire didn't start by accident, and whoever planned it didn't understand how wind works in this valley. Karen shook her head fast. "That's not true." "He's lying. He probably poured something himself." "I wasn't even home," I said quietly. The firefighter walked closer to the fence line, kneeling near the blackened grass. He scraped the dirt with a metal tool, lifted it to his nose, then looked straight at the deputy. This wasn't a grill. This wasn't dry brush. Somebody poured fuel. The deputy's eyes moved slowly. From the burned edge of my orchard, across the road, straight to the HOA's freshly landscaped strip. That strip had been installed 2 days ago. I remembered because Karen had knocked on my door that morning with a fake violation notice taped to it. "Remove all unapproved trees within 72 hours, she had said. "Or the HOA will take corrective action." Corrective action. I looked at her now. "You said you'd handle it." Her voice cracked. "That meant fines." But one of the firefighters shouted again. "Second structure igniting." Another roof caught. The wind shifted harder now, pushing flames uphill like they were climbing stairs. Sparks rained onto wooden decks that had never seen rain before. The decorative dry shrubs, those pretty brown ones the HOA insisted were low maintenance, lit up like torches. Neighbors were screaming. Car alarms started going off, and then something unexpected happened. The deputy's radio buzzed. He turned away to listen. His face changed. "Copy that. Yes, sir. Understood." He looked back at me differently this time. "Sir," he said carefully, "dispatch says you called the fire department at 2:14 p.m. "Yes," I replied. "The second I saw smoke on my security camera." Karen blinked. "Security camera?" I nodded toward the small metal pole near my barn. Motion activated. Records audio, too. Her breathing got heavier. The deputy stared at her. "Ma'am, you told us he was present starting the fire." She swallowed. "That's what my landscaping crew said." "Where are they?" he asked. Silence. The fire roared louder behind us. A third house window exploded from heat pressure. Glass shattered onto the driveway like rain. One of the HOA board members came running down the street. "Karen, the insurance company is asking what happened." "They're saying there was a burn ban." "Burn ban. County-wide. Signed and active." The deputy slowly pulled out a small notepad. "Who approved landscaping work today?" Karen didn't answer. Because at that exact moment, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a notification from my security system. "Motion detected. 1:37 p.m. I opened the clip. The screen showed two men in HOA vests walking along my fence line, one of them carrying a red gas can. And right before the video cut, Karen's voice. "Make it look like a brush accident. The county will blame him." My hands didn't shake, but hers did. And behind her, a fourth roof caught fire. The deputy didn't say a word. He just held out his hand. I gave him my phone. Karen stepped back. "That's edited. He's good with computers. He's been planning this." The deputy replayed the clip. Full volume. Her voice was clear, calm, not panicked, not joking. "Make it look like a brush accident." One of the firefighters walked over when he heard it. Then another. Nobody spoke while it played the second time. Behind us, another deck collapsed. Flames were no longer small. They were roaring through the HOA homes like they were built out of paper. The board member who had run down earlier looked at Karen like he'd never seen her before. "You said this was approved clearing." "It was supposed to be controlled," she snapped. "They said it would burn low and stop at the ditch." The firefighter turned slowly. "There is no ditch." She froze. I said nothing. "Because there used to be a ditch. A natural dirt trench that ran between my orchard and the HOA development. It had been there for years. It helped with rainwater and slowed brush fires. But 2 weeks ago, the HOA filled it. They called it an unsightly erosion problem. They leveled it, covered it with dry mulch, planted decorative grass on top, to make the neighborhood look cleaner." The firefighter looked at the ground again. "This fire didn't jump anything. It ran straight across." The deputy handed me back my phone. "Sir, do you have proof that ditch existed?" I looked toward my barn. "County survey map, original land layout, and—" I hesitated. "And what?" he asked. "And I never sold that strip of land." Karen's head snapped toward me. "Yes, you did. The HOA owns the buffer zone." "No," I said quietly. "You assumed that." The board member looked confused. "Karen told us that land transferred when the development expanded." Karen tried to pull her arm back. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president." The deputy didn't raise his voice. "You're under investigation for arson." The cuffs clicked around her wrists. That sound, louder than the sirens. Homeowners stood frozen in their driveways, watching the woman who fined them for trash cans and mailbox colors get placed in the back of a patrol car. One man whispered, "She said he was the threat." I didn't move. I just watched the flames being forced down by water and foam. Firefighters were finally getting control. 2 houses were gone. 3 were heavily damaged. Black smoke rolled into the sky like a warning nobody could ignore. The board member who had defended her earlier walked up to me slowly. You said you never sold that strip of land." "I didn't," I replied. He swallowed. "But the HOA expanded the map last year?" "On paper," I said. "Not legally." He stared at me, confused. So I told him the part Karen never knew. When the developer first tried to buy my orchard 10 years ago, I refused. They wanted it for extra lots. I kept it. But I also did something else. I placed the entire orchard under a conservation protection agreement through the county. That strip of land between us, it wasn't just mine. It was protected, which meant any land alteration, digging, filling, or burning without county approval wasn't just an HOA violation. It was a felony. The deputy came back over after securing Karen in the car. County records confirmed it. That buffer zone is protected land. The board member's face went pale. "We filled the ditch." "Yes," the deputy said. "You destroyed a fire break on protected property." The The firefighter who had found the accelerant added quietly, "If that ditch was still there, this fire probably would have stopped at the fence." A heavy silence fell over the street. One homeowner sat down on the curb and put his head in his hands. Karen started screaming from inside the patrol car. "He tricked us! He set this up!" I finally looked at her directly. "I planted trees," I said calmly. "You poured gasoline." She had no answer for that. As the sun started to go down, the flames were out. The damage was clear. News vans were already arriving. Cameras pointed at the burned row of luxury homes. One reporter asked me, "How does it feel knowing the fire reversed direction?" I thought about it for a second. Then I said something I knew would stick. I didn't fight for this land just to be bullied off it. Fire follows fuel, and lies burn faster than trees. By the end of the week, the HOA board was suspended. Insurance companies refused to cover intentional damage during a burn ban. Lawsuits stacked up fast. Karen was charged with arson, reckless endangerment, and falsifying a police report. My orchard? Blackened at the edges, but most of it survived. Because the wind didn't choose a side. It followed the path that was made. And sometimes, when you try to burn someone off their own land,